And I guess bringing in a new White Wolf at this point in the season, a bold move and a tall order for Liam.
And of course, he wanted to honor the character that had already been set up, because he knows that he's stepping into a role. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that his performance was authentic, that it felt like him, that he wasn't playing and mimicking anything. And so
apparently The Witcher 4 is, well, you know, so bad it got cooked. It did. It got completely cooked. It's totally dead.
Oh, I can make whatever I want. I've got him on a farm milking people. I'm gonna send him to the ladies with the red bonnets on. Because everyone can have their version. Everyone shouldn't. Everyone doesn't matter enough to have their version. What matters is the millions upon millions of people which have bought the games, and they deserve to be represented. Lauren doesn't. Lauren's irrelevant. I'm not sure why Lauren's the showrunner. She already scared off the best asset that the series has. Getting rid of Henry Cavill and keeping Lauren would be like losing a Wagyu steak and having it replaced with a carrot. I mean, sure, both
agree with the responsibility of that lays at the feet of one woman, the aforementioned Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who has finally gotten everything she wanted, complete control of an epic fantasy series on Netflix without the shackles of Henry Cavill. And how did it turn out? Well, about as bad as you would expect. It's time to talk about...
But yeah, so now apparently the audience scores are down to 17%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw The Witcher Blood Origin, and Jesus Christ. Like, I was watching that for my channel and I couldn't make it past the second episode. It was shocking how bad it was. And I was expecting it to be bad. And I was still kind of surprised, like, Jesus Christ, this is something else. It's like a woke fever dream, and it's abysmally made.
That's what killed me on The Witcher, ultimately.
Promote this thing until a month before it came out. They knew that switching from, like, Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, as downhill as the franchise has gone, everybody knew that even they knew it'd be shit. Were we expecting this? Witcher Season 4 is sitting at 17% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And I mean, look, the critics are pretty so-so on it as well. Some critics have been lambasting it. But overwhelmingly, the fan base who has had an opportunity to watch it has wholeheartedly rejected this thing.
For all the positive reviews, well, you've got IGN, that's never a good sign, and as Critical Drinker says, they can't exactly be trusted when The Penguin got a 5, The Witcher got a 7, and The Marvels got an 8. It basically looks like their score goes up the more girl power a series has. Siri. Although they did give Willow a 9, so there are times when they absolutely knock it out of the park. I think the strangest of the positives is CBR though. Liam Hemsworth Geralt silences the haters. What, you mean like the critics? Do you mean the professional top critics? They've been silenced, yes. Probably because they left and didn't finish the series. They're not watching any more of this tripe. That's why they don't need to talk about it anymore. This season of The Witcher is make or break for...
What was once Netflix's crown jewel in fantasy storytelling has become its most talked about disaster. The Witcher started as a cultural phenomenon, an epic world, a devoted fan base, and a lead actor who seemed born for the role. But today, the same series feels like a fading echo of its own glory. Something went terribly wrong. It wasn't just low reviews or poor writing, it was the quiet way Netflix let the whole thing unravel, like a kingdom slowly collapsing from within. Viewers noticed not just the decline in quality, but a strange silence surrounding it. Missing merch, fewer promotions, and a lead actor who vanished from the franchise just as things were getting good. So what actually happened? How did a billion-dollar show lose everything in less than a year?
We knew that Witcher Season 4 was going to be a monumental disaster years ago when they announced that Henry Cavill was leaving the show to be replaced by Liam Hemsworth. And let's face it, the show was already dead and buried in the dirt because of the actions of the showrunner and the writers and the people at Netflix that control the show.
Now I think that's just so unfair to the guy. It is. This show was going down the shitter for years. People were hating this show for years. Are we really going to blame everything and scapegoat this guy? Well, think about it. If the show was so great, why did the first guy leave? It's so unfair.
To understand the full story, we need to go back to the moment everything changed, the announcement that sent shockwaves through the internet. When Henry Cavill confirmed he was leaving The Witcher, the internet didn't just react, it exploded. Fans flooded comment sections. Hashtags like "Bring Back Cavill" trended for days, and countless clips spread across TikTok comparing his Geralt to what might come next. For Disney, Cavill was the show, not just because of his acting, but because he loved the source material and openly defended it. So when Netflix announced Liam Hemsworth would take over, it didn't feel like a casting change. It felt like betrayal. The fandom split overnight. Some hopeful, most furious. Petitions surfaced, edits went viral, and suddenly The Witcher wasn't a fantasy series anymore, it was a digital war zone. Yet Netflix stood by the decision, releasing a few calm statements about creative directions. That silence only poured gasoline on the fire.
It's about the activist showrunners and the activists at Netflix doing what they want with the character, regardless of whether that's in line with what everyone else loves. We saw Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich say this in the lead-up. Geralt is a little funnier this season. He's a little more dry. He's also a lot more emotional. He's going through a lot of different things than we've seen in the past. That's what everybody wants. An emotional Geralt. It's exactly what everyone's looking for. Oh, Henry Cavill warned everybody. Henry Cavill argued with them. Henry Cavill made it very clear that he was not happy with how they portrayed his character and the entire universe within The Witcher because it went against the books and it went against the games. They were not following the lore, and he knew what fans wanted. That's why he fucking left. So we knew years ago that this was going to be a nightmare. But that nightmare is very, very close to a reality now for Netflix.
Viewers wanted answers. Instead, they got marketing slogans. And behind those glossy posters, the real damage was only beginning. When Season 3 premiered, Netflix pushed hard. Trailers promised Geralt's most dangerous journey yet, and early teasers hinted at massive twists. For a brief moment, curiosity won. The viewership surge on opening weekend looked promising. But then, the numbers dropped fast. Critics called the plot hollow, fans described the writing as soulless, and YouTube reviews shredded the production for losing what made the series special. The comparisons between Cavill's portrayal and Hemsworth's upcoming debut became a meme factory, with comment sections turning into full-on roast threads. What hurt most wasn't the disappointment, it was the disbelief. Fans had waited years for this continuation, only to feel like the heart of the story had been replaced by corporate polish. The Witcher brand was built on grit and passion, but Netflix's version now felt algorithmic. And while the audience backlash was brutal, something even more unsettling was happening behind the scenes. Rumors began to circulate that Netflix executives were quietly scaling back Witcher-related products. Fans noticed merchandise listings disappearing from the official store, collectibles quietly going out of stock, and promo accounts suddenly going dark. Online chatter claimed that meetings inside Netflix turned tense, managers questioning whether the franchise could even be saved. Some sources hinted that Liam Hemsworth himself was growing uncomfortable, feeling the pressure of a fandom that hadn't even seen him yet, but had already judged him. None of it was officially confirmed, but the silence said everything. Normally, a show like The Witcher would have endless merch drops and brand tie-ins, but this time, the machine simply stopped. The excitement was gone. What remained was corporate hesitation. Fans began piecing things together, realizing Netflix might be retreating before the damage got worse. But the internet wasn't retreating, it was rallying for a fight. What started as disappointment turned into something much bigger, a full-blown rebellion. Fans who once defended The Witcher with everything they had suddenly became its harshest critics. Reddit threads were lighting up like bonfires, dissecting every decision Netflix made with almost surgical precision. Entire communities formed overnight, people comparing scripts, analyzing interviews, and hunting for the exact moment the show lost its soul. But this wasn't just about one actor leaving, it was about something deeper, the sense that the people behind the show no longer respected what made it special in the first place. Soon, memes flooded every platform. Twitter was a battlefield of sarcasm and screenshots, TikTok was looping Cavill clips with nostalgic music, and YouTube became a hub for long-form takedowns with titles like How Netflix Destroyed Its Own Masterpiece. Some videos racked up millions of views in days. The energy was electric. Angry, yes, but united. You could almost feel the collective heartbreak of a fandom realizing that the story they loved was slipping through their fingers. One phrase summed up the movement: no Cavill, no coin. It started as a clever tweet, but within a week, it became a global slogan. Fans used it on merch, profile pictures, even review pages. Every new post from Netflix about The Witcher was instantly flooded with that comment, hundreds, then thousands of times. The message was clear: without Henry, without heart. And for once, Netflix couldn't ignore it. Every time they tried to post something upbeat, a teaser, a meme, a behind-the-scenes clip, it backfired spectacularly. The replies were brutal, often funnier than the post itself, and always relentless. But what made this moment different from other fan uprisings was its scale. It wasn't a niche protest or a small online trend, it was everywhere. Even people who had never watched The Witcher were talking about it. Entertainment news sites ran headlines like "Fans Declare War on Netflix" and "The Witcher Backlash Goes Viral." Suddenly, everyone had an opinion, and most weren't kind. Other fandoms from Star Wars to Game of Thrones joined the conversation, using The Witcher as a symbol of what happens when studios underestimate their audiences. Inside fan spaces, something powerful was happening. Anger turned into creativity. People were writing fan fiction to fix the show, redrawing characters the way they were meant to look, and even cutting together fan trailers using Cavill's best moments. It wasn't just protest, it was reclamation. The fandom was taking back the story that had been taken from them. And that's when the movement crossed a line Netflix couldn't have anticipated. It stopped being about The Witcher and started being about every studio that stopped listening. Meanwhile, the company's silence spoke volumes. No official response, no apology, just the occasional vague PR post about exciting new directions. But fans weren't fooled. They saw the writing on the wall. Netflix had misjudged the loyalty of the people who made the show successful in the first place. As the outrage grew, analysts began to notice something more alarming: subscription drops that coincided with major Witcher announcements. It wasn't just noise online anymore, it was affecting the bottom line. The internet had turned into a courtroom, and Netflix was the defendant. Every move was scrutinized, every statement mocked. Even the actors still tied to the show felt the pressure, posting promotional content only to delete it after backlash flooded their comments. The fans weren't just voicing disappointment, they were demanding accountability. And the message was deafeningly clear: you can't fake passion. In the span of a few weeks, The Witcher had gone from being a streaming powerhouse to a cultural case study. What was once a celebration of storytelling had become a symbol of corporate disconnect, proof that audiences, when united, have more power than ever before. And while Netflix hoped the noise would fade with time, this revolt was different. The internet doesn't forget, and fans never forgive when something they love gets stripped of its soul. Behind the curtain, the entertainment industry was paying close attention. Reports claimed rival studios like Amazon and HBO began reviewing how they handled fan-driven franchises. Writers' rooms suddenly took note of how social media could destroy years of marketing overnight. There were whispers that Netflix's internal strategy meetings referenced The Witcher as a lesson in fan management. Even actors from other shows began posting cryptic tweets about respecting the lore. In Hollywood, that's code for "don't do what Netflix did." The fallout stretched far beyond a single series. It reshaped how streamers viewed their relationship with audiences. The Witcher had become the ultimate case study in what happens when creative decisions clash with fan passion. But while studios dissected the failure, one person caught in the storm had gone completely quiet: Liam Hemsworth, the man now wearing Geralt's armor, facing a role no one envied. After the casting news, Liam Hemsworth tried to stay professional. He posted a short message thanking Henry Cavill and promising to honor Geralt's legacy, and then he went silent. The usual promo buzz that follows a major Netflix announcement never came. Interviews were canceled. His public appearances vanished from calendars. Even his social media feed went dark, with older photos quietly deleted as if he wanted to erase the noise around him. Fans noticed. At first, the internet treated him like the villain in someone else's story. Memes mocked his casting. Comment sections tore apart his abilities before he'd even picked up a sword.
But over time, something shifted. The constant outrage started to feel misplaced. Viewers began realizing that Liam hadn't ruined The Witcher. He had simply inherited the storm that was already raging. He wasn't the one who changed the writer's room or ignored the fans. He was the actor stepping into a role that had already become radioactive. The sympathy grew quietly. Posts emerged saying, "Let's at least give him a chance," and clips of him training for the role began circulating, showing real effort and respect for the part. Even some of the harshest critics started softening their tone, admitting that maybe he deserved better than the chaos he had walked into.
But inside Netflix, the mood wasn't softening. Executives were watching the fan sentiment graphs drop week by week, and whispers suggested that even Liam's commitment was being tested. Could any actor carry a show the internet had already declared dead? The question hung over every production meeting. For Liam, the silence wasn't just avoidance, it was self-preservation. And that fragile wave of empathy he was finally earning would soon crash headfirst into Netflix's last, desperate attempt to save the brand. When the backlash refused to fade, Netflix finally tried to take control of the story. But by then, the story had already taken control of Netflix. Months of silence gave way to a sudden flood of damage control announcements. Press releases promised a restructuring of creative direction. Statements from executives talked about reconnecting with the core audience. And leaks claimed that the Witcher team was preparing for a total rebrand. But fans could smell desperation from a mile away. It didn't feel like leadership, it felt like panic disguised as strategy. Inside the company, insiders described meetings where executives debated whether to continue investing in a series now branded as a toxic property. There were whispers about an emergency rewrite plan, about new directors being considered, and even unverified claims that Netflix had reached out to Henry Cavill's representatives to explore a possible cameo or creative consultation. Nothing was confirmed, of course, but the rumors alone reignited the internet. For a moment, fans dared to hope. Maybe Netflix had finally realized what went wrong. Perhaps the studio was ready to fix the mess. But the moment passed. The supposed revival never came. Instead, Netflix's next moves felt hollow. Surface-level promises meant to quiet the noise without addressing the root issue. The marketing materials got glossier, but the heart of the show was still missing. Fans noticed that all the official merchandise, from collector statues to the limited edition medallions, had quietly disappeared from the online store. The company line was inventory refresh, but longtime followers knew what that really meant. A silent retreat. The once proud banners that declared The Witcher as Netflix's crown jewel were replaced by quiet omission. It was as if the company wanted people to forget it ever existed. And that silence spoke volumes. The merch vanished, spin-off series were quietly canceled, and social media accounts that once hyped the show daily went dormant. Even the official press kits for upcoming seasons became unusually vague, as though Netflix didn't quite know how to talk about the series anymore. What had once been a global brand, a symbol of Netflix's dominance in fantasy storytelling, had turned into something executives treated like a ghost in their portfolio. For fans, it was more than disappointing. It was heartbreaking. The Witcher wasn't just a show, it was a world that people had invested in, emotionally and creatively. To see it crumble under corporate missteps felt personal. And when the company finally addressed the backlash directly with carefully worded statements about valuing fan feedback and committing to the franchise's long-term vision, it only deepened the frustration. The words sounded polished, but the timing was too late. The trust was already gone. Because that's the thing about fandoms. They'll forgive almost anything if they feel respected. But once you break that connection, no PR campaign can bring it back. The Witcher didn't just lose viewers, it lost faith. It lost the sense of community that made people care in the first place. And for Netflix, that loss was more than just a dip in ratings. It was a warning shot heard across the entire streaming industry. Behind the scenes, production teams were reassigned, budgets trimmed, and creative pitches suddenly put on hold. The message was clear. The golden age of The Witcher was over. What had begun as a powerhouse franchise meant to rival Game of Thrones had become a case study in how algorithms can't replace passion. You can measure views and engagement, but you can't measure trust.
And once that trust disappears, it doesn't matter how many new seasons you greenlight, the audience won't return. Maybe one day The Witcher will rise again, maybe years from now, when new creatives step in with genuine love for the world that fans once adored. Maybe Cavill will return in some form, or the brand will find its way back through the very people who once abandoned it. But for now, it stands as the internet's biggest warning to Hollywood. When studios forget that stories are built on passion, not data, the audience won't just walk away, they'll tear down the kingdom you built. The Witcher didn't just lose a season, it lost its soul. And in the streaming world, that's